Hello and welcome to 25.1. We are going to dive straight in with Megan Joy McDermott versus Ed Haynes, battle of the oldies versus the moldies. So they are going to get straight into the 25.1 review and strategy. If you guys want to watch the actual technical breakdown and tips and tricks we have for each individual movement, make sure you skip forward to about 16 minutes in this video and you can get into the individual breakdown of each of the movements. Otherwise, we're going to watch two elite level athletes go at 25.1. Enjoy. Okay, so when we're talking about the dumbbell snatch, a few things to think about first is, of course, the dumbbell can start from the floor, although it's a hang, clean, and jerk, or hang, clean, and press. So it can start from the floor for the first rep. Every rep thereafter will go from the hang position. The next thing to think about is, are you going to alternate every single time, or are you just going to bash out all the reps on one arm? What we'd suggest is probably once it gets past round 6, so in round 6, you're going to go 3 on one side, change to 3 on the other side. Of course, make sure you practice the alternating doing this. When you get to round of, for example, 12, you can do 6 on one side, 6 on the other side, so on and so forth, trying as best you can to split it in the middle. If at any point that becomes fatiguing, holding on for that many reps without changing, then move to an alternated variation of it to try and keep the grip, the biceps, and the shoulders a little bit more fresh as well. Next thing you think about with the dumbbell is holding a hook grip at the top of the dumbbell. We know that the way that most hex dumbbells are made is at the top and the bottom of the handle are always going to be a bit skinnier than the center of it. So you can actually hold a hook grip pretty easy at the top of the dumbbell, and it might be easy if you're repping out more reps when we do this. One thing to think about in terms of the clean and the press, we can obviously use a variation of muscle cleans, power cleans, strict presses, and push jerks. Just go whatever feels best for you. If you know that a push press is going to start to sap you and kill you off, then start with a push jerk and keep it efficient. Generally speaking, if you know you're tight overhead and you don't like to lock your arms out with the knees bent, i.e. a push jerk, then maybe a push press is a better alternative for you. Just keep your eyes out for making sure that you lock your knees out with the arm locked out overhead if you're using a jerk variation here. If you're doing the push press as well, again, make sure that arm locks out. When you finish the dumbbell snatch, really important that we don't just drop it down unless it's your very last one. You know you're not going to get back there. Think about placing it down to the floor where you want to start the next round before you then move into the lunge. And the last one is when you're doing the dumbbell snatch, set your toes as close to the line as you possibly can. So once you're finished with the dumbbell clean and press, he comes down, you stand straight up, and then move straight into the lunges next. So lateral burpees over the dumbbell. A few things you want to think about when we do this is we know we're really going to be doing plenty of hinging work with the dumbbell clean and jerk. So we want to try and minimize the amount of hip flexion we need when stepping up or jumping up to do the burpee over the dumbbell. So when I'm looking at this dumbbell here, I'm actually thinking about placing my hands in front of where my dumbbell is on the floor. And what that allows me to do is as I come up, my foot only has to step half a distance here versus all the way up to my hand. Steps half a distance up, and I'm already in line with the dumbbell, and it's an easy jump over. Of course, I'm showing a 2-footed jumping variation here. We can, of course, use a single leg jumping variation, whatever you like to use. Just make sure that the feet, both feet, go over the dumbbells. We don't want to be seeing people dragging feet around the back. Costly no reps. They're going to matter a lot in this workout without a ton of reps. Next thing, like I was saying, we have that line on the floor. Dumbbell should be really close to it for the dumbbell clean and press. Hands should be in front of that line. Definitely get some chalk on your hands. Slap down where you expect or would like to see the perfect burpee to be on the floor before we get rolling this workout. Because once you're going, the more visual and physical aids you have, the easier it's going to be. In terms of burpee as well, of course, you have the step back or the jump back or the step up or jump up. Generally speaking, slow it down, save the jump up for the end if you know you're going to finish on the burpees or there's a bit of a sprint at the end of a workout. But don't start too hot and use an easy variation. You're going to get 5 minutes into this workout and already be in the round of 12s and 15s. Workout hasn't even really started at that point. So just bear in mind, it's going to get really tough around the 7, 8, 9 minute mark when the bigger chunk of reps start to come in as well. The burpees, again, stay low to the dumbbell. Don't want to be standing up as we jump. So as you jump over the dumbbell, try and stay low as you transition over top versus the big stand up and go all the way back down. And last one, it probably seems fairly obvious. But as you hit the deck, no matter if you're jumping back or stepping back, keep the elbows soft. We don't want to hit the ground with straight arms here. As soon as the hands touch, it should be soft arms straight down, almost like you're just trying to flop down towards the floor. I should keep it a little bit easier on the upper body before you go into the dumbbell clean and jerks. So the last movement for the lunge, again, like we said, make sure you place the dumbbell down in position where your toes are already on the line. So as soon as the dumbbell goes down, we can then start stepping into our walking lunges. Walking lunge, of course, goes without saying, toes, make sure you start behind. Make sure you get both heels over the line as well. If you guys watched the live announcement, you saw Krenikov get done, and there was a bit of confusion with his judge. You have to start all the way back at the beginning if you stuff up in the middle of a rep. Next thing to think about is, of course, stepping all the way up. As you stand up from the lunge, we've got to show full hip opening at the top. Make sure we don't get caught being forward, soft knees. So if it helps you guys as you step up, you can use the trailing leg that's coming through to kind of press into the floor momentarily before you come back down. You don't have to come to a complete stop at the top before going down to the next rep, but use that trailing leg to help you bring yourself into a full lockout position. Generally speaking, again, the lunges are going to be the easiest part of this workout. Make sure we're breathing here. Don't try and rush this. Be meticulous with your accuracy here. We do not want to get a no rep on these lunges. 25.1, we got 3 seconds before we start. First thing, Karan, obviously back to the dumbbell. When we're doing this workout, we cannot be facing the dumbbell. Please don't make that mistake. What are your first thoughts when you see this workout, 25.1? Or what is the workout, firstly?
25.1 is 3 lateral burpees with a dumbbell, 3 hang, clean, and jerks, followed by a 30-foot walking lunge.
Hang, clean, shoulder to overhead.
Hang, clean, shoulder to overhead, followed by a 30-foot walking lunge at body weight. And after each round, you will add 3 reps to the lateral burpees and 3 reps to the hang, clean, to shoulder to overheads. But the walking lunge stays at 30 feet, and you continue adding 3 reps until the 15-minute AMRAP is over.
Nice. Okay, cool. So I think if we look at these two, obviously when you're doing any sort of movement in CrossFit, you should have different gears and different paces you can hit these movements at. Right now, I think if you look at both of their strategies, they are moving at, I'd say, like a 60 to 70%. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you can see like it's very deliberate. There's nothing really being rushed. It's efficient. So there's like jumping back, stepping up for both of them. They have a small skip over the dumbbell. So make sure you guys know the burpee standard when jumping over the dumbbell. And then they're clean and shoulder to overhead. What we're seeing is that they're basically doing a power clean, scooping under and pressing straight overhead like a push press. I think that's also just probably smarter. There's a lot less discrepancy on the lockout position if you utilize a push press variation.
Agreed.
In terms of the burpees, what are you seeing here when Meg and Ed are going at it?
Ed's going with a jump back, step up version of the burpee. Meg's going with a jump back, jump up. Spoke with Meg earlier this morning. She said that she preferred to do a smaller jump up to the burpee just to save her hip flexors.
Yeah.
With the step up, she'd have to aggressively step up with 1 foot slightly further up.
Yeah.
So she preferred to go jump back, jump up.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think again, it's something that it's not a yes and no, you need to do this, don't do this. It's personal preference. But I think whichever variation you choose, if you watch where they were doing it, like I think setup is super important. So right now, as they're executing their hang, clean, shoulder overheads, you can see their toes are essentially on the line.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen, Meg, great example, just said, as soon as she finishes that last rep, you can step straight into your first lunge.
Yeah.
You don't have to shuffle your feet and try and get on that line. So that's really important. But the next thing is on the burpees. If you look at Ed's lane right now, it's really obvious where his hands go every time. And I say this later on, if you guys skip forward, is set an obvious chalk mark on the floor where you want your hands to go. Because when you're deep into those rounds at 18, 21, 24, the last thing you want to be doing is like screwing up where your hands go. You kick the dumbbell because, you know, if you kick the dumbbell, it's a costly no rep.
Yeah.
So yeah, having that mark on the floor and notice how far in front of the dumbbell it is, or in front of the line in this case.
Yeah.
And the reason why we do that is so that you don't have to step up so far, or in Meg's case, jump both feet up so far. You basically jump them halfway and you're already at the line of the dumbbell. and then you go over the dumbbell. But yes, again, super efficient. In terms of speed, I don't really see a speed difference between the two. I mean, if I'm looking at this and I'm going to be critical of both of them, I would say Meg is probably expending a little bit more energy
Yeah.
with the jump up because she requires a bit of a pop off the floor.
Yeah.
You know, moving the hips just a little bit faster, a little more explosively is always going to take just a little bit away. But what else are you seeing here?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. With the dumbbell placement, I think I'd start with the dumbbell placement just behind the line and then get the chalk marks for your hands. And then from there, you would go into setting up. I think on the clean and shoulder to overheads, like you said, having a dip into the push press is a lot more efficient than having a double dip. For example, you do a power clean, stand up, dip again, and then go push press, push jerk. I think that's just wasted energy and it's not efficient enough. So either muscle clean, dip into a push press, or preferably what we all did was a power clean straight into a push press.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think you know, just again, so we've got like what 20 people going this morning,
Yeah.
and just speaking to people. It's funny, a lot of people feel like they have to have a rep scheme that they do for their clean and overhead work. So it's like, oh, I'm going to do half of each one. I want to get to 9. I'm going to do 5 and 4. I think if you try and go in with that, that's totally fine. But
Yeah.
you know, I know a lot of the times when I got into some of my rounds, I actually would start and I do 1 to 2 reps and about, oh, that shoulder feels smoked already, and I change straight away. A lot of people have gone and going, I'm going to do 3s on each side before I change, which is probably a little bit smarter, I'd say, versus like just going half down the middle. But I think just being able to play it by ear. So of course, being able to understand like the swapping and alternating off the shoulders and all that sort of stuff is really important here. But again, you see both of them are executing that stance for the clean and shoulder overhead. The toes are on the line. So again, there's no kind of time wasted when they're doing this, which is super important as well.
Yeah, because it's crucial because if you start with your toe on the line, or if you don't get your heel past the line when you finish the 15 foot for 1 rep, you have to go back all the way to the start of the line, and that can be quite expensive in terms of getting a no rep.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're starting just behind the line and finishing over the line for each of the 15 foot segments. Something with the burpees as well, when we get there, is making sure that that trailing leg gets over the dumbbell as well. So what I found useful for myself was to make sure that my front foot is actually towards the front head of the dumbbell.
Yeah, agreed.
Versus when you think about jumping over a dumbbell, you think jumping over the handles, and that will then lead to your trailing foot going behind the dumbbell versus over the dumbbell. Try to get your front foot up towards the front head, so you're ensuring that the trailing leg is going over as well.
So especially with the way that Ed does it, because he steps up and he basically brings himself essentially to a staggered position. So in this case, his right foot is in front of the left. So he agreed. His right foot, the outside foot in this case, should be in line with the top head of the dumbbell. And his left foot is basically going to pass the back head of it. His right foot over the top head of it.
And then if we're getting into details here, like if you do a jump back, jump up, you're probably going to lead with your inside foot on the jump. But if you do what Ed's doing and what I did, I think what you did as well, was we step up with the outside foot and then we lead the burpee with the outside foot as well. And that's where we get the staggered jump. And that's where we got to be a bit more careful, because it's staggered jump that we get both legs over the dumbbell at some point in the air.
Yeah, agreed. I think they're both doing a really good job of it, though, is like staying low to the dumbbell. No matter if you go and jump back, jump up, whatever case you're doing, stay low to the dumbbell. You don't need to stand all the way up. Now, obviously, they're working through a big chunk here of the hang clean to shoulder to overhead. But don't forget the first rep, you can clean it off the floor.
True.
So make sure that we read the standards there. So you can kind of, I guess, muscle clean or power clean the first rep from the floor. Every rep thereafter goes from the hang. If you're in a round of, for example, 21s and you break it 15 and place it down, the 16th rep can be taken from any arm because it's not alternating, and you can go straight from the floor again up before you go overhead. Just make sure that it is 2 movements. So again, if you look at the way that especially Ed does it, as soon as it touches his shoulder, he's already driving up overhead. I have seen a lot of people trying to do that and they actually almost miss the shoulder, and in which case it wouldn't actually count. You need to get
you're going to make contact with the correct. And I think also with the shoulder to overheads, or the full movement, the clean and shoulder to overheads, I think the elite will hang on and go unbroken. When I say unbroken, I mean not put the dumbbell down all the way into the round of 27 or 30, wherever they get to. But I think, if you're not at the top of the top, I'd say people might start breaking or consider breaking from probably the 18s, the 21s, or the 24s. I know personally I broke it up from the 18s. I went 9-9, then I went 6-5-5-5 for 21, then I went 6-6-6-6.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I mean, obviously, now that we've cooled down, I'm like, oh, I should have held on.
Yeah.
But having a little bit of an idea, obviously I went by feel, but having an idea of if you do want to break it up, when you're going to start breaking it up by, is a good option.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a lot of people think about trying to slow the cadence of a movement down. And in this case, you probably don't want to slow the cadence of the movement down. You want to make sure that you're nice and fast as you're going through all your reps. And you'd rather be quick, put it down, have zero weight on the body, breathe for a second or two before you pick the dumbbell back up and go. One thing I just remembered as well, because I just watched, I'm seeing myself go in the background there, is after the clean and jerk, the clean and shoulder overheads, is that once you place the dumbbell down, it's really important to stand all the way back up to full extension before you start your first lunge. Okay, we've already spoken about foot placement, where that needs to be and should be. But yeah, as soon as that dumbbell goes down, I guess we'll see Meg do it first because she's on the dumbbell first here. As soon as the dumbbell goes down, got to stand all the way up to full extension in the knees and hips before you go into that first walking lunge.
Agreed. And the same applies to like when you're turning at the 15-foot mark, you actually want to make sure that you get over the line, stand up to full extension before you turn around. In the warm-up, we had a couple of people start to turn as they were standing up. Or myself in the warm-up, I started to stand up as I started getting into my burpee before I finished extending. So making sure that you get past the line, stand up, and then turn and get into the next movement, or turn and get back to your next segment of the lunges.
I found when I was doing my warm-up, I wasn't even really thinking about it. But as I got to the 15-foot mark and I had to spin around, as I went to spin around, my trailing leg, let's call it, actually didn't even touch the floor. And I was like, okay. Then I went back and checked the standards. Obviously, both feet have to be over. And the last thing I think, when you watch Meg, so when I watch Meg doing that, that doesn't actually look like the most comfortable lunge. You see, she's actually lunging quite far and her hips have to fall back. So when I look at that versus Ed's lunge, I think Ed might actually take an extra step, or maybe he's taking the same amount of steps as Meg. Meg's just got a slightly shorter leg. So I would say, again, Meg's probably working ever so slightly harder than Ed is in this situation. I would always go with a more comfortable stride length. I guess you can call it like a gait, I guess, with the lunge. Go with a more comfortable one versus stretching out. So like when I watch Kronikov go, he's doing it in 4 steps. But he's also a big bloke. So I could get there in 4 steps, but I'm like stretching out every single time. I want the lunge to genuinely just be mindless for me. And I can just breathe and be unweighted, because the other 2 movements I'm working pretty hard. So those lunges, I would go with the easiest, most natural form of stepping rather than having to stretch out.
No, I agree. I think both Meg and Ed had 5 steps for their 15-foot segment, but Ed was just finishing over the line, heel over the line, but Meg was actually quite far over the line, which is just wasted energy. So if you took a little shorter steps, you just finish over the line versus having to, the longer lunges are obviously going to fire up your posterior chain more. I mean, the same thing applies with me. I try to practice in the morning and I was like, I can get there in 4, but I'm doing really long lunges. It's just not worth it. So I went with 5. Another thing to think about is also, I guess.
Oh, here we go. Meg's taking a first break on those burpees. Are finally starting to catch up to a little bit. You know who won this race, don't you? Because I actually don't know who won.
So unofficially, it's a tie.
Don't say it yet.
Cut it out.
Anyways, So let's wait and see what happens here. But Meg's basically taking her first break. I mean, they both look like they're working pretty hard right now. But again, like, when we look at it and you look at it from a coaching standpoint, like, transitions are still pretty sharp. No one's really like taking a, I know Meg took a break in those burpees just then, but no one's really taken a prolonged break between the burpee and the clean and jerk, or the clean and jerk into the lunge. So again, like, being super diligent, I guess, in the first 5 minutes, because you can get from round 3 all the way to round 12 and 15. And you feel like Superman. You feel like you're flying. Then someone goes, 12 minutes to go. And you're going, oh shit, I've got a long way to go here. So it's really important that those transitions stay the same. I think when you watch the live announcement, Austin Hatfield, who won the workout, was just so meticulous in everything he did. Yes, he's doing more reps, but he's actually looking exactly the same. He started with a jump back, jump up, but even when he went to the step variation on the way up, he was just as smooth the entire time. Which is awesome. It's really good to see someone like that still execute it. And again, like, he wasn't completely dead at the end. Okay, cool. So here we go. They are head to head now. One thing as well, make sure you keep hands off the legs when you're lunging. Hands off hips as well. Okay,
Yeah,
so
this is where Ed made his move on the previous round or this round of hang, clean, and shoulder to overheads.
yeah,
And that's where he made his move and caught up with Meg. And then this is where the battle got spicy. There's just under 2 minutes to go.
yeah. This is around the 27, I
They're now
guess.
in the round of 27
Okay.
burpees.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, actually, I still don't know who officially won. We gotta count the last few reps because they were saying now I got 1 rep more than you, 1 rep less than you. So now we'll
On the clean and jerks.
on the hang, clean, and jerks. Yeah, or the hang, clean, shoulder to overheads.
Okay. Nice.
One quick mention on the lunges is I think you can also think about using that as almost a rest station where you can go stagger your steps where you come to full extension, step, and then move into it, or you can step through if you want to move a bit quicker.
Yeah, just make sure again, hips are coming in full extension when you do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, as much as possible, that lunge should really be a chance to do nothing.
Yeah.
It should be smooth. It should be mindless, and you should just be thinking about, okay, I'm about to go execute my next set of burpees.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool.
So final minute now.
Yeah, 55 seconds to go.
Do you want to count someone's reps? I'll count someone else's reps.
Count Ed's reps here.
Okay, I'll count Meg's reps.
You can see the cadence though of Ed's and Meg have both sped up.
Yeah.
Meg's staying a little bit lower to the floor, hands staying nice and low. Ed's still going with a step up variation. Probably knows that he's gonna get to the dumbbell as well.
Yeah.
Which is obviously where you're gonna. So Ed's had a little peek at the clock there as well. Oh God. So Ed, a little stutter there. We're gonna go into silent mode here. So Ed's starting to grimace a little bit. They got 20 seconds to go. So you can see again, there's no real rep scheme that they're trying to hold in their head. They are just gripping and ripping that dumbbell. If they need to change, they change it. 10 seconds to go. This is gonna be close. 5 seconds. Cadence really picked up. 3, 2, and time.
How many did Ed get?
I counted. Was it 10? Was it 15?
15.
Yeah, 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meg got 15 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Meg got 15, Ed got 15. And right now the two of them, they're dead, but they're trading words right now. They're like, nah, you got 14, I got 15. Ed was counting Meg's reps while she was going as well.
Oh, really?
And Ed was telling Meg that she got 14, but they ended up both getting 15. But
Yeah.
you know who ended up getting 16?
Is that you?
Mr. Skulk.
Got
Got them by 1 rep.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that is the end of the video. I think just before we go into, you guys go ahead and watch the strategies of each of the movements themselves. Be meticulous in your warm-up. There's not much going on in these movements in terms of the step up, the jump up, the lunge, the hinge and the clean, and obviously the press overhead. I would honestly spend a lot of time warming up the aerobic system. Once your range of motion is good to go, ready to rock and roll, warm up your aerobic system. Get in a C2 bike, get in an assault bike, and just move, sweat a little bit, get the heart rate up moving, then go execute your movements from there. But in terms of actual breakdown for the warm-up, you can look in the notes in the description underneath this YouTube video for a full warm-up before you get rolling into this. Good luck in 25.1. See you on the leaderboard.